Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk some on crossing borders, international borders. And the reason, as I still get comments on the videos that I've made on it already, but now I've crossed even more borders and I've learned even more. And there are adventurous type people that travel through countries. And this is why I thought I might want to talk a little bit more about it and get everybody caught up to it with what I've been doing in the way of how to cross the borders. And the thing is, remember, okay, I don't even know how many countries I've been. I'm not saying I'm some kind of a world traveler. What I do is I normally cross the same borders over and over again because I'm driving. Unlike most world travelers, they don't normally drive, and if they do it once and they don't do it again. And you go by your experience. And when most people can do anything one time. If you're lucky enough to live through whatever, you know, good, you learn something. You start doing things on a regular basis, especially if they're a little more dangerous. It's just a matter of time when it's going to get really bad. And I was living in Guatemala for 14 years. I traveled from Panama all the way up to Canada. I was on a motorcycle with my dog. A lot of it was, and then some of it was in a car. And there was a big difference between doing it with something like that. And then, like I say, I lived in Asia for 9 months. And now on that I didn't drive. That I flew, and then I would get a ride with somebody in their car, and then I would cross borders over there. And I said, well, I guess I did. I flew to Cuba too. This was 2000, and down to Venezuela, over to Colombia, this type of stuff. And so I've been through some borders on a regular basis. And a few things I've learned. One thing, communist countries, you don't bribe in communist countries unless you know how to bribe. Everybody in China was shocked that I bribed so much. Because China is a communist country, man, it's like Cuba. Bribing, to accept a bribe and to do a bribe is a death penalty. So, but I say I'm experienced, so it's trying to find that bribe line is kind of hard with me. You don't really know if it's a bribe or not. But so what I'm saying is, communist countries is really, really tough. I got in most of my trouble was in Cuba and China, and Cuba didn't have a border, but when I flew in, they put me in jail just when I flew in. I don't even speak the language, and they put me in jail. But then again, I was like 50 years old, 52 years old, so I was still young stud, So, and then China, I was too old. I say that was just last year, and because I'm too old, I'm limited on what I can do. I can't drive in China. I can't drive. I'm too old, and they respect their elders. So it was. I got in trouble, but like I say, it wasn't enough for anybody to push it, and I don't do criminal acts. So It's hard to, punish somebody. They can break the law, but you better just kind of adjust to it than to try to punish them when the law had nothing to do with criminal activity. That's what happened on that. And I say bribing is a criminal activity, but that's why I say practice. I tell people to practice now. You should put it in your lifestyle now. I still do it. Let's see, yesterday I probably bribed 4 or 5 people yesterday. That was when I was at the machine gun shoot in Muskogee, Oklahoma. So bribing is something I still do all the time now. And once I started learning how to do it, started practicing, that's when I found out. And it's coming really useful on the border. Like I say, when I was living in Guatemala, once a month I'd go to Sam's, which is across in Mexico. They don't have a Sam's in a Sam's Warehouse. They don't have that in Guatemala, but they have it in Mexico. So I'd drive over there. I have to leave the country every so many months anyway, so I just went on to go over there, do some shopping, and whenever I crossed the border, we'd go through the same routine. Well, you don't have the papers. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. They've got to point out whether you did something wrong or not. They're going to point it out because they're looking for a bribe. And I've noticed that in every country. I even mentioned it to keep from leaving the country and going through the borders in China. I went, and you can go in and you do some paperwork, and then you don't have to leave the country. I think it was every 2 months you have to leave. And so I thought, well, good, I don't have to go to another country like I've been doing. I just go on in. And then so I went in there thinking all I got to do is fill out some forms and everything is over. They took my passport. And I tell people you should have a passport. A passport is the most important identification you have. And it doesn't even have your address on it. So then, it's a good thing. So they took my passport. And I made a video on that. That was a nightmare. I had to go over a week with them with my passport. In general, no, not in general. Other than that, that's the only exception I've ever seen. Whenever you lose your passport, somebody holds your passport for you, that's called human trafficking. They own you. Whoever has your passport owns you. And so that's what happened in China. And that's when I was trying to avoid crossing the border. So that tells you crossing a border is a very stressful situation. And like I say, I was doing it once a month. And every month I was always breaking a law because they make up the laws. The one there on the border, he makes up the law. And so I guarantee you don't have all the documents. I guarantee it. And the thing that's good down there is you just give them a little bit of money and, it's taken care of right there between you and the guy that's between you and the border. Now, once you go inside and get your papers, your passport stamped and all that stuff, that's another story. And so they're going to try to get you out, because once you go inside, then it's official business. And then that's when they need this document. They need copies and stuff like that, and they'll send you to do all that kind of stuff. That, I think it's a little hard to bribe your way out of something like that. And but like I say, once I was doing it so often, I already knew the routine. But still, they would try to catch me outside and tell me I've got all these problems. And now, legal problems trying to cross the border. Now, anytime you have a legal problem, and I even do it even here in the United States, If you have some kind of a legal problem, you get it taken care of right here, right now. And you do it with the person that you're having these legal problems with. Now, if you're doing a criminal act, you got yourself a problem. I don't care where you're at in the world. When you start doing criminal acts, that's going to be another story. I don't know how to bribe for those. But that's a whole nother type of bribing. But like I say, even here, like I say, when I get in trouble, well, here in the United States, it's a little different. Here in the United States, if I'm dealing with whoever it is I'm dealing with and we got some kind of problem, well, then I say, well, let me speak to your supervisor. I've got the advantage because now I'm old. I'm old and wise. And I've got them at a disadvantage because they're young and stupid. They don't know who they're messing with, and that's why they get me a supervisor. If you're some young man or something like that, and you do get in some kind of trouble around here now, let me speak to your supervisor. It's not going to work for you. So, but and like I say, down on the border, especially on the border, you don't say, "Let me speak to your supervisor," because right now you're only dealing with one person, and you just need to bribe them. And how much? Like I say, normally you're talking $5, maybe 10 if you really want to push it. But I'd never pay any more than 10. But I didn't pay nothing. Once I figured out what was going on, I know how it works. But because when I bribe, I don't bribe with money. I don't like bribing with money. It's seldom do I bribe with money, and it's not going to be much. And because once they put the squeeze on you, it just gets worse. So that's what I'm saying. You're dealing with one. A lot of times it'd be $5 or $10, and you don't want to pay it, and you want to be a hard nose about it. Well, then they'll get their supervisor. Now it just went to $100. And I say I'm a travel companion, and well, I guess I'm not anymore. I don't do this stuff anymore. But as a travel companion, I've really seen all kinds of stuff. I go to weird places, and I've seen people when they would open their mouth the wrong way with the wrong supervisor. They've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars just trying to cross the border. And you don't say, well, you do your homework and you find the law if you need a visa and all this kind of stuff. You need to do your homework. But even at that, when you get to the border, they make the law. So if they say, no, it's not going to work, or you need this, you're going to have to do it, because you can't, they're the ones holding the gun. They're the ones that are going to let you go through. And you play a hard nose, it's going to get worse. And that's what I'm saying. You get their supervisor. I mean, he's lazy. If he's got to come out there, he's going to really put the screws to you. So there's things you need to think about when you're crossing borders. And now when I say crossing borders, also includes going into an airplane, flying in. I say I've been put in jail twice, Guatemala and Cuba, when I flew in. So, I mean, just, and for nothing, because like I say, what have I done? I'm on a plane, you know what I mean? So, I haven't been here long enough to even to insult anybody. So, so you need to think about this stuff before you start crossing borders. This is Mike, NoStressMike.com.